Donald Trump doesn't like being blocked. Donald Trump doesn't like when a federal judge stops his attempted takeover of one of the finest institutions of higher learning in America, the oldest university in America, Harvard. Donald Trump going after Harvard with a full frontal assault to try to take it over, determine who it's going to hire, who it's going to put on faculty, what people are going to study, what they're going to learn, what students are going to be admitted. Now Donald Trump has announced in Memorial Day, you might have missed it because it was buried in a number of social media screeds that he posted as commander-in-chief, that he was going to try to take $3 billion away from Harvard University, which is basically used for biomedical research and cancer research and things that helps people's lives. And he was going to take that money and spread it out for, you wait for it, trade schools. Right. Listen, I'm all about plumbers and electricians, and certainly when you need one, you got to find one. But taking $3 billion out of the coffers of Harvard to penalize them because you don't like the fact that they are not going to bend the knee to you. They're not going to let you take over and impair their independence, their academic independence, and then claim you're going to dangle all that money in front of the red states with all their trade schools. I mean, that is just, again, another low blow by Donald Trump. I'd say it's a low moment in his administration, but I think we've got a lot more of those between now and the end of the administration's term, don't you think? I'm Michael Popok. We are thinking here on Legal AF. And let's cover this fist fight that's broken out between Harvard University and Donald Trump and new updates on it through Memorial Day Monday. In particular, on Friday, almost immediately, and with 2 lines, a federal judge, Judge Allison Burroughs in Massachusetts, took one look at the filing by the Harvard University after Donald Trump announced that he was not going to allow foreign students to go to Harvard at all. Let's just eliminate their participation in a program that dates back decades and that puts Harvard on even footing with all of its other competitors. You know, Harvard may be one of the finest universities in America and research institutes, but it's not the only one. It has competitors within the Ivy League and outside the Ivy League. There's an old joke at the law school I went to, Duke University. We used to joke that Harvard was the Duke of the North. But in any event, they're competing. And for them to then have the lifeblood of their academic freedom and pursuit, foreign students, which make up about a quarter of their student body, be denied them, puts them at, let's just put it this way, competitive disadvantage. Sure, they've got billions of dollars in an endowment, but they can't afford to have the Trump administration cut all of the different lines of fuel supply to their university, cut off billions of dollars of funding, cut off $3 billion for biomedical research, make foreign students look somewhere else. Why? It's all under the false flag that Donald Trump's trying to protect academic freedom. He's trying to protect students on campus. You know, he doesn't like all those tent cities and all those bed sheets taken off the bed and spray painted with messages that make him uncomfortable. Heck, they make me uncomfortable sometimes. Depends upon what they're saying. But we have a First Amendment in this country. And by the way, it is a small percentage. I'm not even sure it rises the level of percentage, but it's a small number of people on university campuses such as Harvard that protest in the square, whether they're protesting against Israel or America or whatever it is. Now, I might find some of what they say to be distasteful. I might scrunch up my nose. I may not want to hear it. That's the point. I'll defend their right under the First Amendment to freely express it. Now, the vast majority of graduate students are not spending $100,000 a year at Harvard in order to get thrown out or to attack Jewish students. They're there to get a degree and to get a Harvard credential on their resume. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. And 1/3 of the Harvard Business School, business students, trust me, they're not in the Harvard Square protesting against Israel. 1/3 of students in Harvard Business School, HBS, are international. It is what makes Harvard. It's what makes Harvard Harvard. They said it themselves on their own social media posting. 1/2 of the Harvard Kennedy School of Diplomacy, future diplomats, people that work at consulates and missions and work at the UN. 1/2 of them, of course, are foreign. And now, until Judge Burroughs blocked it on Friday, they were going to have to look somewhere else. In fact, Harvard said if Donald Trump was successful in throwing them out of this foreign exchange program and their ability to sponsor these students, which make up, again, a quarter of their population, they would just go to other universities. They'd go to Yale, they'd go to Michigan, they go to Duke, they go to NYU, they go to wherever. And so Donald Trump, again, painting with a broad brush, with no factual support, just like he claimed all Venezuelans are criminals and members of a terrorist gang, all Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers, all effectively Latin Americans, all people who are of Hispanic descent, including you Cubans that live in Miami that vote for him in large numbers. He's attacking you. You just don't realize it. You just don't want to admit it or recognize it. So what is Harvard doing in response? And what has Donald Trump done in response? This is response and response. This is call and response. Harvard ran into court after they were denied on Thursday their ability through the Department of Homeland Security to continue to sponsor foreign students. Remember, universities are planners, right? This wouldn't just screw up now. This screws up the summer term, the fall term, next spring term, next summer term, next fall term. It's a 2-year injury to Harvard if a federal judge hadn't stepped in and blocked it. So here's from their introduction that was filed in their motion for temporary restraining order. For more than 70 years, Harvard University has been certified by the federal government to enroll international students under the F1 visa program and to host exchange visitor students under their J1. Harvard has, over time, developed programs and degrees tailored to its international students and invested millions to recruit the most talented such students and integrate them into the Harvard community. The government's revocation of Harvard certification just a few days ago was not a product of the ordinary review process set out in detailed regulations. On its face, the revocation is part of the government's broader efforts to retaliate against Harvard for its refusal to surrender its academic independence. In response to the government's disagreement with the perceived viewpoints of Harvard, that's a no-no under the First Amendment and under due process analysis, its faculty and its students, the government has issued a series of demands requiring Harvard to submit to government oversight of its faculty it hires, the student it admits, and the courses it teaches. When Harvard declined, the administration unleashed the full power of the federal government, freezing billions in federal grants, proposing to eliminate Harvard's tax-exempt status, opening multiple federal investigations, and terminating its participation in those foreign student programs. And they made good on their threat, and it's an attack on academic freedom. That got the attention of federal judge Allison Burroughs up in Massachusetts. And she entered an order, it's just a page long, it's only really 2 lines long, blocking the Trump administration from actually throwing Harvard out of the foreign student business, which makes up, as I said, 1/4 of their population. Donald Trump didn't like all that. And so he started doing all of these crazy postings on Memorial Day. He always uses the holidays to attack fellow Americans. Remember when everybody said during his campaign, especially after Butler, Pennsylvania, with the thing that hit his ear, and then in filings and in letters that were written after he won and became president-elect, that he was going to be the great unifier, that he was going to unite America, that we needed to pound, swords into plowshares and all get along. And I was picturing a scene out of like Lion King, like that. How's that going so far? He calls Americans scum, all Americans effectively, as far as you call one American scum, you call all Americans scum. That's the way it works. He called federal judges U.S. hating because they don't agree with his positions, and they blocked him over 60 times in 200 different lawsuits. So Harvard has fired back. First they came for hundreds of millions of dollars of federal funding. Then Trump backed off and said it was all a big misunderstanding. Then Harvard hired a couple of top-notch lawyers, including a Harvard graduate in Robert Hur, who used to be a U.S. attorney for Donald Trump and was the investigator of Joe Biden. He's on board. And then they hired, in addition, Quinn Emanuel. Now, what I love about the new filing, Quinn Emanuel used to represent the Trump organization as its ethics counsel until about a month ago. Now, Jenner & Block, a law firm, is back because Jenner & Block was just the recipient of its own permanent injunction issued by a judge that said, no, the Trump administration can't fire you and can't make it so you can't do your job as lawyers and tell clients you can't represent them in front of the federal government, including its prosecutors, and completely destroy your practice because they don't like some of the people that you've hired or they don't like some of the positions that you've taken as a law firm. So Jenner & Block just got its own injunction, and now they're back and they're defending Harvard. I love the cosmic justice aspect of this particular hot take. So Donald Trump didn't like that. So now he's threatening to take away, it'll be subject of another lawsuit or within this lawsuit with Judge Burroughs, to take away $3 billion with a B dollars worth of federal aid that goes to cancer research and biomedical research and give it to the person that's going to be repairing your air conditioning. I am not attacking, trust me, I need air conditioning repair. I now live in Miami. I'm not attacking plumbers or other trade people. I have plenty of friends in high school that have had amazing careers and amazing trade school opportunities, and I'm all for it. I'm just not for siphoning off as retribution and a vindictive faction Harvard University's use of funds to make my life better and extend my life and help find a cure for what just killed my mom. In order to curry favor with the red states. I just don't think that's how it works. Judge Burroughs doesn't think that's how it works either. Now, this case off of the end of the week leading into Memorial Day weekend will wend its way up to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, where I'm sure Donald Trump is going to lose. And then it's going to end up at the United States Supreme Court. And that's an interesting set of bedfellows at the United States Supreme Court, because many of the people on the court, I think there's at least 4 of them, that went to Harvard, including on one side, Ketanji Brown Jackson, double Harvard, and on the other side, Chief Justice Roberts, double Harvard. So pick your fights. Donald Trump's pressing a losing hand with Harvard, but he's just going after the biggest. He goes after the big law firms, goes after the big universities. What galls me is this false flag where he's arguing that he's doing it to protect Jewish students on campus. He's not. He's not. I've been a Jewish student on campus, by the way, at another university. And I would love if the story was true, and I would definitely report on it. If the story was true, that the reason he's going after Harvard is because Barron, Fredo number 3 in the family, got rejected from Harvard, I would be the first one to report it. But I've done enough sleuthing and enough due diligence and enough talking to people and enough talking to groups that are responsible for investigative reporting to report to you that it is 99.9% chance that it's not true. First of all, the Trump family doesn't go to Harvard. The Trump family, if they go anywhere, they go to the University of Pennsylvania, Penn. Donald Trump went to Wharton, which is the business school, the competitor for the Harvard Business School, which he's trying to slash now. Or they go to Georgetown, or they try to go to Georgetown. There's a story about the daughter, Ivanka, not really doing well at Georgetown. I'll leave that for another hot take. But they go to Georgetown or they go to Penn. They don't go to Harvard. So it really falls into the category of J.D. Vance screwing a couch. Remember that one? Sort of in that. But I like the storytelling. But the reality is that Melania made a mama's boy out of the 6'12", whatever he is, Barron. And she wanted him home. And she didn't want to go to the White House. And she wanted to stay in New York at Trump Tower, which she has. And she wanted him close by. Trump Tower is on about 5th Avenue and 57th Street. And NYU starts at about 5th Avenue and 10th Street. So they're relatively close. You just take the bus, not that Barron takes the bus, but you just take the bus straight down 5th Avenue. And within about 20 minutes, you will be at NYU from Trump Tower. And that's why he's there. And not because, now, do I think he was bright enough to get into Columbia? No. I went to NYU, so don't even take offense at that. But I went for my own particular reasons. And I had a great time there. But he gets to sleep in his bed at home, surrounded by his Louis Vuitton bags and whatever else he has there next to Tiffany's. And that's what he wanted to do. So that's not why Harvard is in a fist fight with the Trump administration. But they have to. They have to duke this out. No pun intended. They have to fight this out. And we have to support it. Because if Harvard falls, that is a domino that will have major impact. That's why the major law firms have to fight back, not the ones that settled and compromised, like my old law firm, Skadden. No, the ones like Jenner and Block, right? The ones like Perkins Coie. They're the fighters. They're the ones that are fighting back. We have to fight. Could you imagine if Harvard cut a deal to turn over academic independence to Donald Trump? That would just embolden him to do it more, not less. Is this administration over? I feel like I binged watched the entire administration and I'm ready for like another season of something else and not this one. But this does, if we play our cards right and we're smart about it from a strategist standpoint, based on the polling, based on what we're seeing, there should be a bloodbath against the Republicans and MAGA at the midterms, right? At 2026 and the House and the Senate. will be returned to the Democrats, which will give us some measure, some semblance of checks and balance. Investigations can officially be open, not these shadow investigations that nobody pays attention to. We get into the chairmanship and chairpersonship of each of these committees. We run real investigations, maybe articles of impeachment again, and conviction, and we're up and running. And Donald Trump is the lamest of lame duck presidents. And that's a great platform for the Democratic primary for the presidency and the retaking of the White House in 2028. That is our pathway. That is what we do now. I'll continue to report on it right here. You're on Legal AF. You want a receipt to show that you're a foot soldier to protect and defend democracy and the Constitution? Hit the subscribe button. It's free for Legal AF as we continue to build this pro-democracy channel. We become the one-stop shopping for law and politics. 12 different contributors led by me, Michael Popok, right here on Legal AF. We just added Asha Rangappa and Renato Moriarty, who are former FBI agents. One's a Yale instructor on national security. The other one is an amazing former federal prosecutor. They come together with a show called It's Complicated. And not to be outdone, we've got the resident ethicists and historians here in the form of Sean Wilentz, professor at Princeton, and Sidney Blumenthal, who wrote 3, soon to be 4 volumes. Look at Sidney, I'm pushing you here, on Abraham Lincoln, and also was in the Clinton administration as an advisor. Sidney Blumenthal, amazing writer, historian in his own right. They put everything in perspective in something they do weekly called the Court of History. So until my next report, come over to Legal AF Substack. All the things I'm talking about now, all the orders and the things I just read from, we post on Legal AF Substack. Help join us, help us with the fight and join there as well. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.